I'm Pat Miller, and my husband Steve is over there at the computer. We've been climate activists working together for many years. During our working lives, we were engineers and managers at the former Bell Labs in Homedale and its successor companies. We've become very active at advocating for the climate since retirement, and especially for the last 5 years, since we attended a 3-day climate reality training led by Al Gore, where we pledged to become climate reality leaders. Okay, this is our home, the only home we have. You probably recognize this photo of the Earth taken by the astronauts on Apollo 17 in 1972 as they traveled toward the moon for the first time. It is called the blue marble. Unfortunately, we who live here are causing it great harm and have been ever since the mid-1800s, when we started burning coal to run the railroad and start the Industrial Revolution. Coal is a fossil fuel like oil and gas. Such fuels have made our lives immensely better, but have caused horrible damage to our air and water. If we don't stop this pollution, we will soon not be able to breathe the air or drink the water. All right, that's working. Why do we care about saving our home planet? Because it is home for our children, our grandchildren, whom you see here, and all future generations. Our mission is to leave a livable world for our children and grandchildren. There are many sources of fossil fuel pollution. Some are shown here and include power plants, transportation, fires, garbage landfills, and incinerators, and farming, especially of animals. We're seeing maybe, whoops, no. Okay. We're seeing some of the effects of climate change recently in the form of woods, floods, fires, and famine. We know the Earth is getting measurably warmer. We've just had the warmest winter I can remember in my whole life. Warmer air can hold more moisture, and this causes bigger downpours and more frequent and bigger flooding. Here is an inland flooding scene in New Jersey in 2019. A year or two ago, Ida caused deaths in New Jersey, mostly in flooded basements. And of course, Sandy happened about 10 years ago. Heat also causes fires, and both have increased over the years. The U.S. West has been on fire multiple times recently. This was California in 2019. And this year, California experienced fire, floods, and a massive snowfall. The extra heat also causes droughts by sucking the moisture out of the topsoil. So droughts can take place more quickly and with less warning. There was massive drought a couple of years ago in Europe. The U.S. Midwest has lost entire crops at times in the last few years, alternately to flooding or drought. The climate crisis is also a health crisis due to the pollution caused by burning fossil fuels. This is what the air looks like in some cities in China and India. Okay. From current slide. Up at the top, yeah, the second icon from the left. Now just keep going. I can keep going. Here we are. Okay. The climate crisis is also a health crisis due to the pollution caused by burning fossil fuels. This is what the air looks like in some cities in China and India. People can't breathe it. It also makes people more vulnerable to COVID all over the world. The more the air pollution, the higher the death rate from COVID. This, incidentally, is part of the reason that COVID death rates have been so much higher in low-income and communities of color like Newark or Camden. They're subject to much worse pollution from burning in power plants and incinerators, or massive numbers of trucks to ports or warehouses, often situated quite purposefully near their neighborhoods. So the cost of carbon, it's the #1 threat to the global economy. Before we get to the topic of how do we fix this mess, I want to make a point about the sources of most of the so-called greenhouse gas emissions. This bar chart is from an official New Jersey study on the status of our global warming response. Look at the top 3 bars. Our New Jersey emissions are almost all, 87%, from 3 sectors: transportation, buildings, and electricity generation. Remember that, transportation, buildings, electricity, which is mainly burning gas in power plants. Can you just wonder from the bottom? We have the solutions at hand in the form of clean energy technology. Next. Look at how wind energy capacity has grown over the years, exponentially. With any new technology, the growth is often vastly more than predicted. Next. New Jersey has just upped its goal for offshore wind to 11,000 megawatts by 2040, and we are on track to do it. Next. Here is a similar chart for solar energy capacity. And another for batteries, for energy storage during less sunny or windy times. And here is one for EVs, same story. Also, there are electric buses, our trains run on electricity already, and there are even electric airplanes. The airplanes may not be ready for prime time yet, but they do exist and they're getting better. Anybody who has been paying attention, you can just keep going to the end, knows that the price of new technology always go down. Look at the price of solar, wind, EV batteries, and LED lights. The higher volumes of manufacturing and installations will create many times the jobs that mining or drilling ever could. So we know the problem, we have the solutions. What do we do next? One of the things we do with all the organizations we work with is to urge everyone to join us in lobbying our federal, state, and local officials to take steps to stop gas and oil and switch to wind and solar. We say, pass the Inflation Reduction Act. Declare a moratorium on gas pipeline or power plant construction. Stop subsidizing the oil and gas barons and start winding them down. All of these things may or may not happen, but we can live our lives doing what we know is best. I can drive an EV, heat with electric heat pump, or stop eating meat. What if 1 million of my friends and neighbors do the same thing? It would help if the government led the way, but we can do it without them. Before we get into the detailed solutions, I want to point out that the recently passed IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, does now provide some financial incentives to individuals for taking steps to reduce emissions. There are tax credits for solar and battery storage, which, by the way, are already in effect and have been for several years. Most of the other rebates, which mainly come as upfront discounts, are set to go into effect sometime in 2023, but they are dependent on the states setting up programs to distribute the federal money. We were told that New Jersey's share of the IRA funds will be $93 million for electrification projects and another $93 million for energy efficiency. Another thing we have learned is that existing state benefits must be stacked with federal IRA benefits. The states cannot take them away. Also, many IRA benefits are available not only to individuals, but to businesses and even nonprofits. So tax credits may be passed on to customers through the vendors. There's money for EVs and chargers. Most of the rest are for buildings, weatherization, heat pumps for space, heating and cooling, and electric appliances. The link at the bottom points to a calculator you can run for your own case. What you see here are the maximums, but the actual amount depends on your income and that of your community, with higher amounts available to low and moderate income. In this calculator, which you can also see that link is at the top of this slide, it's the same link. You enter your zip code and income, a few other facts, and it will calculate how much savings you personally are available for. As you can see, more of the money is targeted at lower income individuals and communities. Did you get that link? Okay, next. So here are some of the things that we can do. First, as I said before, let's tackle the top 3 issues: clean electricity, transportation, and buildings. Electricity. You can change to clean electricity immediately in one of these ways. 1, install rooftop solar. This is the best way if you can do it, and you get up to a 30% tax credit from the IRA, and more if you also install battery storage. The second way is to subscribe to community solar and buy it privately from the developer of the large off-site solar project. Or 3, just switch to a 100% clean third-party supplier. Unfortunately, the price of third-party wind or solar has recently increased to the point that the first 2 options are much better. We're going to show you what the Millers, that's the 2 of us, as individuals are doing. This is our house as seen by Google Earth. We love the trees, and they are very effective at carbon sequestration. Trees and all plants breathe in CO2, that's carbon dioxide, and breathe out only the oxygen part of it, taking the carbon out of the air and storing it inside themselves or in the ground. But our trees are twice as high as the house. There is no solar to catch on our rooftop. For years, First, we had a contract with a 100% clean electricity supplier of wind from Texas. It was a little cheaper than the utility, and it was as easy as just signing up online with the third-party supplier. Our utility still read the meter and did the billing. But now we have a better choice, which we are taking advantage of, and it's the new New Jersey Community Solar Program. Here, a developer leases space. Oh, go to the next. A developer leases space from a warehouse roof, like you see on the left-hand side of the slide, or brownfield, and builds a large commercial solar field. Then they sell shares of the electricity produced to residential or commercial consumers, you can see on the right, and handle the billing. The utility still reads the meter and provides an accounting to the solar developer of the amounts provided by both the community solar versus the utility itself each month. So you can get your energy from both of those sources up to the amount that you need in any month. In the current offering, which is still a New Jersey pilot program, there's a 21% discount from the utility. At least half the electricity is reserved for low to moderate income households. On the slide are a link and the QR code to the BPU's solar finder. So if you go to that link, you can put in your zip code and find out if there's a community solar project near you that you're eligible for, and then sign up for it or apply. Next. The next step we took personally was to electrify our transportation with a plug-in EV that was comparable in price to a regular hybrid. Ours is a Prius Prime plug-in hybrid, which we charge on a regular household outlet with our clean electricity, and which goes 30 miles on a charge before switching automatically to a hybrid engine, the hybrid Prius engine, which itself gets 65 miles per gallon. Here it is being charged in our garage. The IRA gives up to $7,500 for EVs and 30% to install a charger. So we've addressed clean electricity and transportation. Next up, buildings. The first thing to do is take energy efficiency measures. Insulate, seal air leaks, switch to LED lighting, and smart thermostats and things like that. Remember, the cheapest energy is the energy you don't use. We had a home energy audit and took all the measures they recommended. What you see here is what amounts to a zippered refrigerator bag over the attic stairs on the left, and lots of additional insulation in the attic. And there was a lot of sealing of air leaks because our house had quite a few. The next step is to start now to switch household appliances to electric when they need to be replaced. It will probably take several years to do all of this. The most important and carbon-intensive appliance to replace is the gas furnace or oil boiler. When it or an air conditioner needs to be replaced, be sure to switch to an electric heat pump for both heating and cooling. The heat pump does the job of both furnace and air conditioner and is much more efficient than either one and provides cleaner, more comfortable air for your home. Please go online after this talk and Google heat pump. It's truly a magical appliance, and you will never be sorry you did. The IRA covers up to $8,000 for installing a heat pump. Other appliances you will want to start replacing with electric are the water heater, the stove, and a dryer. And the IRA also gives rebates for these. The more efficient high-tech electric appliances are getting cheaper. The electricity itself will be dropping in price as the percent renewable goes up. And the price of fracked gas and oil are a lot higher now because of Russia's war. And they will start to go up steadily as their government subsidies are phased out and demand drops. This graph compares the sales numbers of gas furnaces in red versus electric heat pumps in blue. The two have pretty much tracked for the last decade, but finally heat pump sales are starting to overtake gas furnaces. The main thing that is happening is that heat pump technology, which has been popular for a couple of decades in the South, in warmer climates, has been improved for colder temperatures, so they are now efficient to as low as about 0 degrees Fahrenheit. The cold climate heat pumps are now being used successfully in the Northeast all the way up through Maine. In the coldest zones, like Maine, underground sourcing the input air, where the air underground is a constant 55 degrees year-round, provides even more efficiency. In mid-2021, one of our air conditioners stopped working. Maybe we could have had it fixed, but we had been waiting for an opportunity to install a heat pump, to replace the air conditioner, and to use our existing gas furnace just as backup. We paid $5,000 for the heat pump, which turns out to be about the same as the average price today for a replacement air conditioner by itself. We had 2 furnaces and 2 air conditioners, one set for each floor. We left the second floor as it is and replaced the first floor air conditioner with a heat pump. And this was all installed. We didn't have to do any of the work. The HVAC company did the installation. The heat pump that you see in the picture on the left, there's an air conditioner on the left and the heat pump is on the right. They look very much the same. We connected the heat pump to the first floor furnace for backup in the very coldest temperatures. And that furnace is in the picture on the right. Because our house has a large open area between the 2 floors, much of the heat rises to the second floor anyway. We were able to cut our total gas use by more than half with only the 1 heat pump. This past winter was so mild that in some months we used no gas for heating. In January, our gas bill was $14. Then in the fall of 2022, our water heaters sprang a leak. So we replaced it with an electric heat pump water heater. We received a rebate from New Jersey of $750. That was in effect at the time. This was last fall. The IRA will soon provide a second rebate of up to $1,750, which unfortunately we missed out on because we did it too soon. But we're really glad that we have our heat pump water heater. Next. Here's a picture of our heat pump pool heater. I realize most people don't have a pool to worry about, but we do, and we had been heating it with gas for 30 years. What a terrible waste of fossil fuel emissions. So when the heater needed to be replaced, this was actually the first electric heat pump appliance we bought about 5 years ago. One thing you're likely to find when adding all these electrical appliances and EVs is that you don't have enough circuits or even outlets available, and electrical work is needed. The IRA provides up to $6,500 for electrical work and up to 30% tax credit for EV chargers. We put in a new circuit box at the time we put in the pool heater. And it's shown on the left of that slide. And it should allow for all our future needs, as you see in green on the right-hand side. So this has been an example of the path a person or family can choose to take, perhaps over the course of years, as we did. It's important to have a plan for electrification. The most economical way is to buy electric whenever a gas or oil appliance or gasoline vehicle needs to be replaced. But when that happens, you need to be prepared. Because right now, not all HVAC dealers or even appliance stores have heat pump versions in stock or the knowledge to install them quickly. So right now, you need to shop around and determine what your needs might be and what dealers carry them. Let's just start back on this slide, which you can't see the top of it, but it says electric heat costs less, pollutes less. The data shows the big selling point of electrifying for many people, it is cheaper. We installed our heat pump 1st of January 2022 to replace a broken air conditioner. We now have a full year of operating costs with it, summer and winter to the 1st of January 2023. That heat pump saved us 23% lower total gas and electric utility for 1 year compared to the previous year. We used actual 2021 gas bill, which we converted to 2022 with 2 changes. One, a small tweak in 2021 gas consumption to adjust for degree days in 2022. And 2, we used the actual 2022 month-to-month gas pricing charged by New Jersey Natural Gas. Our total annual savings was $700 by using a heat pump instead of our previous 95% highly efficient gas furnace. There was $700 savings in total 2022 combined gas and electric bills for the first year of owning the heat pump. The gas bill dropped $1,300, while the electric bill rose by $600. I'm particularly pleased by the huge 83% lower greenhouse gas emissions from my house. Next. In 2021, we decided to take steps to expand our mission for clean energy and a livable planet to as many people in New Jersey as possible. We founded the New Jersey 50 by 30 Building Electrification Team and began.
Explain 50 by 30.
50 by 30 is the governor's goal of reducing emissions 50% by 2030.
Thank you.
Thanks. And that's our goal too. And we began a campaign of expanding our network of activists, advocating with state officials to take clean energy measures and monthly webinars to educate people, both consumers and dealers, about building electrification and heat pumps. We now have about 1,000 followers on our mailing list, recordings of nearly 20 webinars, and we have written letters and had meetings with state officials from the governor's office to agencies like the New Jersey BPU, which is Board of Public Utilities, and Department of Consumer Affairs, which sets building codes, and also Rutgers and Monmouth University scientists. We also have alliances and partnerships with environmental organizations all over the state. Next. These are some of the legislative and policy items that we believe we have influenced. We asked for them and we got them. The New Jersey Energy Master Plan was issued by the New Jersey BPU in early 2020. We provided comments during hearings then and also submitted written comments. We plan to do so later this year again when it is updated. The letters and meetings we talked about in the last slide provided input for these. 4 governor's executive orders. These executive orders issued by Governor Murphy match really well to our requests through the letters. So we're proud helping make change happen in New Jersey. Early this month, New Jersey Senate Bill 3672 was introduced and sponsored by state senators Bob Smith, and Zwicker. This is important to support building electrification. It requires New Jersey electric utilities to electrify buildings. We will be requesting 2 small additions and will push for passage later this year.
Tell them what LMI means.
LMI is low and moderate income. This slide begins several examples of building electrification projects that have been described in our monthly building electrification webinars. This example is a small heat pump that the contractor for our daughter's new addition suggested to heat and cool just the new addition to the house. This is a Fujitsu cold climate heat pump. Such heat pumps are listed on an industry database and test site called NEEP, N-E-E-P, which stands for something like Northeast Energy
Program.
Okay. Where you can check the specs. The heat pump is called a ductless mini split with a separate outdoor unit that you see, connected by Freon tubes to a small air circulation unit mounted high on the inside wall. Cold climate means the heat output remains constant as the outdoor temperature drops to 5 degrees or lower. This meets New Jersey specs, effective April 1st, 2023 for New Jersey rebates, which can be stacked with federal IRA Act rebates and tax credits. The link to this April 1st standard link is in small print in the title of the slide, which I know you can't see. But when you get, oh, you haven't gone to that. Oh, yes, you have. Yeah, I can't see it. Okay, but you'll be able to see it when you get the slides sent to you after this. Everything is being recorded. We're going to send the recording and the slides. I asked my daughter's general contractor how he knew what heat pumps to specify. He told me he reads the trade news each evening to keep up to date. So that was a good contract. Not all contractors can do that. Okay, this is the QR code that's the same as the one in the back, right?
Yes. No,
Okay, so you can take a picture of this if you want to, and it takes you to our index of building electrification webinars. So you're going to see some of the conclusions from these webinars, and if you want to go see the whole webinar, either the recording or the slides, you can do that at this link. What you need to do, I guess you can go ahead to the next one, is to look up the date or the speaker on the index. Each slide identifies the webinar date and the homeowner's name. And each, I already did all of them. Okay. This is the first example. This is John and Diane on March 16th, 2023. It's a new passive house that was built by our neighbors and described in this webinar. They love the new house. All the exterior walls and ceilings are very thick insulation. They 16 inches deep. All structural walls, ceilings, roofs are assembled in a factory and then trucked to the construction site. So they fit perfectly. The shell of a small house can be erected in as little as 1 day, but might take 3 months to finish the inside with wiring, plumbing, ducting, and wall finishing. The passive house is so well insulated, it can be heated with candles or just body heat. Addition of a smallish rooftop solar instantly makes the house net zero. He says, I hope this doesn't happen to you, but my neighbor's house burned down and the owner quickly replaced with a factory-built home. I really enjoyed watching a crane assemble the pieces of my neighbor's replacement house. Okay, example 2. Alan Spector, an architect in the Skyland section of Northwest New Jersey, designed his own house as a passive solar house in 1984. The house has 80% greater energy efficiency than a conventional home. In winter, the sun shines through all his windows to heat the high mass floors and walls, which stay warm at night. He has a collective of 15 homeowners egging each other forward to net zero greenhouse gas emissions. They each implement improvements when personal funds and New Jersey and federal incentives are available. The bottom of the slide shows various improvements that Alan did to his house, resulting in steady reduction of tons of CO2 emissions down to net zero in 2019. That CO2, carbon dioxide, resulted from using dirty electricity from propane heating and from gasoline for his 2 cars in the beginning. His first change in 1998 added solar hot water, but helped little. In 2010, he added rooftop solar, which charged his hybrid car and halved his greenhouse gas. Shortly after that, he began replacing his heating HVAC with heat pumps powered by his solar. Notice that he covered every available roof area. In 2019, he finally reduced his greenhouse gas to net zero by adding a bit more solar by subscribing to a nearby community solar farm. Now his 2 EVs are charged by his extended solar arrays, and he finally rejoices at net zero. Example 3. Matt Kavanaugh is chair of the Parsippany Green Team. He created a 4-year plan to net zero. I'll concentrate on the blue bars showing CO2 emission in town for the period 2018 through 2020. To shorten time on your own, you can explore the red curve, which shows reduction in total energy consumption. Matt started at 110,000 pounds per year of greenhouse gas. First step was to install solar, and he also bought 2 hybrid cars, which he could charge from the solar. His footprint decreased 40,000 pounds by 2019. He then took out a loan and installed a ground source heat pump. He dug 3 wells, each 250 feet deep, and connected to his heat pump with a single underground loop. By nature, ground source is much more expensive to drill or dig to bury the plastic tubing, but it is the most efficient of all types of heat pumps. By 2020, Matt's ground source heat pump had eliminated most CO2 emissions. In 2021, he reached net zero by buying offsets for his remaining car gasoline consumption. In 2022, he installed a whole house sized battery to produce power in the event of an outage. And there's a second slide to Matt's path. This shows Matt Kavanaugh's positive cash flow starting after 5.5 years. All that he spent was paid back in 5.5 years. And payback on his total investment was about 7 years. He expects to have accumulated $135,000 positive cash flow in 25 years. If you want my personal advice, or Steve's personal advice, Matt is available as a consultant with Green Insight. The final residential example, David Green is a net zero evangelist describing his own house, 5,400 square feet, built in 1974. The building code back then was much more lenient, resulting in much higher heat loss. David took advantage of every tax incentive and rebates and kept meticulous measurements of the results. He has written essays and books to share what he has learned. David lives in Massachusetts, which had its own uniqueness, but current federal IRA and New Jersey tax credits and rebates show New Jersey is catching up to Massachusetts. Massachusetts was especially generous. The table shows insulation provides almost immediate payback. The big moneymaker is the rooftop solar. The big carbon pollution reduction comes from heat pumps. Finally, David recommends judicious use of triple glazed windows incorporating an infrared e-coat reflective layer. All these produce money in your pocket. Okay. Now, for our final example, the question is, how can a church reach net zero? Utilities treat the church like a commercial building. They pay commercial rates, utility rates. A church is tax exempt, but the federal IRA Act allows churches to fully benefit from tax incentives. The church tax credit can be assigned to the vendor, who will then reduce the price to the church, and that's what we do. Our church has been reducing its building-related emissions. Next slide. There we go. For the last 20 years. I'm intimately involved, so I include several slides. Orange is emissions from burning gas. Blue is emissions inherited from using JCP&L electricity. You know, JCP&L electricity is not 100% clean. About half of it now is from burning gas. Certain key events labeled on top of the colored bar produce noticeable savings. Annual CO2 emissions in 2003 were 140,000 pounds, or 70 tons per year. This year, the emissions will be 30,000 pounds, or 15 tons, a reduction of almost 80%. Pat and Steve and our church team recently documented our 20-year accomplishments and submitted this to a national contest. We just won second place in the national contest for Cool Congregations Energy Savers Award by Interfaith Power and Light. An extra bonus, the green bars at the bottom represent the carbon sequestration of 16 acres of trees on church property. If we include this carbon sequestration by the forest, our greenhouse gas emissions are expected to be negative in 2023. This slide just shows all of the details of the 20 years of efficiency improvements, and I'm going to skip that. And here are the pictures of the, at the end, the last two things were that after we did insulation, windows, LED lighting, and high efficiency Energy Star appliances, we installed 6 heat pumps to replace most of our gas furnaces, which were all broken and had to be replaced. The timing was critical. Our old gas furnaces had dangerous combustion chamber cracks. On the left are 3 external condensers where heat pumps replaced the original air conditioning units. And on the right, the indoor air handlers, which also included a new gas furnace for extra low temperature backup, which we didn't even need this last year. And then the second thing we did was to install solar panels. We had solar before, but it was a very small array, and this one is 4 times the capacity of the old one. We applied for the permit for the largest possible solar array to match our electrical load, including the heat pumps. The timing was also critical. We discovered increasingly evident roof leaks from the old roof. Those rooftop solar panels are like gold. They will produce electricity worth $290,000 over their 25-year life. That is $290,000 is more than enough to pay for the installed price of the solar installation, the new roof, and to pay for the 6 heat pumps, all combined. This solar installation has a payback of 4.3 years. As it turned out, our worries disappeared about the need for upfront cash because all the funds were available either from congregation funds or by special donations or angel people willing to pool their efforts and work together toward this common goal of saving our earth for future generations. Why don't you just skip to the end? Okay. So all together, we can save our world, and we will save our world. Thank you.